The report itself mentions that 60% of Black students receive Pell, 50% of American Indian or Alaska Native students, and almost 50% of Latinx all receive Pell Grants each year. However, this report doesn't look at completion rates disaggregated by race and ethnicity. So for example, it doesn't say what is the Black Pell recipient trendlined over time. And I know there's some real data limitations involved here, and just wanted you to speak a little bit to what can and can't you do with the existing data, and how, if you have a commitment both to socioeconomic equity and racial equity, to what extent you can really pursue those lines of inquiry.
Well, I think one thing I've heard, at least from the Department of Education, is that the FAFSA and even NSLDS don't collect data on race ethnicity, or have not historically, but I believe that that's changing. And because of that change, we should be able to technically get a lot more granularity, a lot more disaggregation within Pell receipt by racial and ethnic groups. My understanding is that that's been a past practice that's been unavailable, but is potentially something that could be available moving forward. And so in the absence of that information, we have to, if you want to study this, I think you'd go to the NIPSAS survey, the National Postsecondary Student Aid Study, and any of the sort of longitudinal surveys that kind of spin off from the NIPSAS. That would be the first place to look. Or if you have some data sharing agreements at institutions or within states that could be providing the kind of data access to disaggregate Pell status by not just race ethnicity, but certainly that, but other identities that are not currently being collected or enforced at the federal level.
Yeah, and I think too, if you look at NIPSAS, which is where we get that stat from, it's a little older now. And so I know everyone on the data research side is excited for hopefully the new NIPSAS data to come out so we can get more updated numbers to see what it looks like. But I also think it's important to not use Pell as a proxy for race. And we have an upcoming piece that's coming out at the beginning of December that really shows that, although it a sizable share of students of color receive it, that may not necessarily mean they're attending institutions that serve larger shares of students of color. Again, can't wait for that to come out. But again, just adding more nuance to the story behind it, and also thinking about how students of color are receiving Pell. There are issues in advocacy around increasing, which is usually done through the FAFSA in order to make that happen. And so, we just miss out on a lot of students of color if we only look at Pell as a proxy for race to determine what higher ed is looking like across the board.